Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your news edition. These are the headlines. President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, relieves Tiaret Governor of Duties, Saïd Khalil, and has entrusted Rabah Mouradieza as Secretary General of the province with the interim management of its affairs. The President of the Republic orders immediate return of Algeria's accredited ambassador to the Republic of Niger to Niamey, with an aim to relaunch bilateral consultations and resume cooperation between the two countries. Representing the President of the Republic, Prime Minister Sefer Riyad arrives in Addis Ababa to participate in the 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union, as well as the Africa-Italy Summit. African Union Executive Council commends Algeria's efforts in serving the continent, while Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf praised South Africa's G20 presidency. The Directorate of Military Industries at the Ministry of National Defense receives the fourth shipment of buses to renew a national passenger fleet. Welcome back. In accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, and particularly the Article 92, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, ended the duties of Saïd Khalil as the Governor of the province of Tiaret and tasked Rabah Mouradieza, the Secretary General of the province, to handle the local affairs. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, ordered the immediate return to Niamey of the Ambassador of Algeria to the Republic of Niger. This decision was taken after the return of Algeria of the Ambassador of Niger. It reflects the high importance that the President of the Republic attaches to reinforcing the brotherhood and neighborhood relations, as well as cooperation with Niger. This measure will facilitate the relaunch of the bilateral political dialogue at the highest level, the resume of cooperation initiated between the two countries, and achieving strategic projects for the benefit of regional and continental integration. Representing the President of the Republic, Prime Minister Sefer Riyad arrived in Addis Ababa to take part in the 39th session of the African Union Summit of African Union Heads of State and Government and the African-Italian Summit. Upon his arrival at the Boli International Airport, he was welcomed by the Minister of Innovation and Technology, Blita Moula. Prime Minister will also take part in high-level meetings similar to the African Union Heads of State and Government Peer Reviewing Forum and the Commission of Heads of State and Government for Climate Change, in addition to the Committee of 10 on UN Security Council reform. The participation reflects Algeria's commitment to support the joint African efforts to reinforce development projects in the continent. Under the theme, the Year of Water Sustainability to achieve Agenda 2063 goals, the African Union Summit will focus on boosting continental cooperation and integration, while the Africa-Italy Summit seeks to advance the partnership, particularly through the Mattei Plan adopted in Rome in January 2024. Coverage by Fatih Ablalia, taken up by Melissa Dila Balaman.
Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital, is hosting the 39th African Union Summit of Heads of State and Government amid rapid geopolitical shifts and mounting development and security challenges across the continent. This year's theme carries strategic weight, ensuring sustainable water access and safe sanitation systems to meet Agenda 2063 goals, a reflection of one of Africa's top development priorities for the coming years. Algeria's presence at the summit is highly significant, given its central role in the African Union, its diplomatic and historical influence in supporting liberation movements, advancing collective African action, strengthening continental solidarity, reviving multilateral initiatives, and upholding the principle of African solutions to African problems in the face of ongoing crises. At the summit, Algeria seeks to promote development strategies focused on water, food, and energy security, drawing on its expertise in the energy sector, regional connectivity, and continental investment, while also supporting economic integration through the African Continental Free Trade Area. African leaders are expected to tackle key issues, including peace and security, the activation of the African Standby Force, and institutional reforms within the Union, alongside Africa's role in the G20 following its formal accession. Annual reports from continental bodies, especially peer review evaluations, will also be presented, covering Security Council reforms, climate change, and the Continental Free Trade Area. Through its engagement, Algeria aims to cement its pivotal role in Africa as a regional balancing power and a key partner in shaping a unified African stance that preserves stability across the continent and supports sustainable development for its peoples.
The Executive Council of the African Union adopted a series of decisions hailing Algeria's role at the continental level in youth empowerment, culture, trade, environment, and pharmaceutical industry, a concrete model to reinforce youth integration, calling on the state members to follow the Algerian experience. The Executive Council also adopted a decision on the progress achieved in the Great African Museum project that will be built in Algeria. At the economic level, the Council approved the resolution on the intra-African trade fair held with success in Algeria under the guidance of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. In the health sector, the African Union adopted a specific decision on the activation of the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention, highlighting Algeria's role in organizing the first African Ministerial Conference on the development of local medicine production and health technologies. Ahmed Attaf reaffirmed Africa's commitment to the G20 under South Africa's presidency, proposing inspiration from the Orange Track to unifying the continent's voice within the group, while holding several bilateral meetings. Basma Far.
Heavy agenda marks second day of African Union Executive Council. On the second day of the African Union Executive Council meetings, the foreign minister in his address regarding the G20 report praised South Africa's presidency and called for strengthening Africa's representation in the G20.
كل التقدير والثناء لجمهورية جنوب إفريقيا.
All appreciation and praise go to the Republic of South Africa for its distinguished and outstanding presidency of the G20. The outcomes of the summit represent an important gain for the continent. Our delegation reaffirms the previously agreed arrangements for sharing representation responsibilities between the Commission and the rotating chair. We also propose drawing inspiration from the Oman process experience to unify Africa's voice within the G20.
من تجربة مسار وهران لتوحيد الصوت الإفريقي كذلك داخل مجموعة العشرين.
Algeria maintains a relationship of friendship and close cooperation with African countries, which continues to grow in international forums. At the start of the meetings, the Foreign Affairs Minister met with his counterparts from several African nations. With Mauritania, he reviewed the various aspects of the brotherly and cooperative ties between the two countries and prepared for the upcoming Joint High Committee meeting. With Nambia's Minister of International Relations and Trade, key African issues were discussed, alongside opportunities to enhance bilateral relations, particularly in the economic sector. The minister also met with his Burundian counterpart, congratulating him on his country's readiness to assume the African Union's rotating presidency and reaffirming Algeria's support for Burundi's efforts in security, development, and continental integration. During the meeting with his Kenyan counterpart, both sides exchanged views on African affairs, especially in the regions where both countries have stakes, and emphasized developing bilateral relations reflecting the commitment of both heads of state. Finally, during his discussions with the Foreign Minister of Lesotho, Algeria congratulated the country on its election to the African Union Peace and Security Council. The two sides also agreed to explore additional opportunities for bilateral cooperation, particularly in economic and development fields.
In application of the instructions of the President of the Republic, Prime Minister Sifiriyev chaired on Wednesday the installation ceremony of the body in charge of monitoring the national market supply in widely consumed products. This system acts under the aegis of the Ministry of Local Trade and National Market Regulation, in addition to all the concerned sectors and the security services. A fourth cargo of 868 buses arrived on Thursday at the port of Algiers and was received by the Directorate of Military Industries of the Ministry of National Defense as part of the program of the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, aimed at renewing the national transport fleet under the personal monitoring of the Army General, Minister Delegate to the Ministry of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Saïd Chengreha. Transported by 4 ships, this cargo was provided by the Chinese partner over a total of 6,800 buses from our foreign partners. We listen.
As part of the implementation of the program initiated by the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, aimed at importing 10,000 buses to renew the national passenger transport fleet, and under the personal supervision of the Army General, Minister Delegate to the Ministry of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, the Directorate of Military Industries of the Ministry of National Defense received today, February 12, 2026, at the Port of Algiers, under the supervision of the Automotive Industry Development Company, the fourth shipment of buses. This shipment consists of 868 vehicles of various types delivered by the Chinese partner out of a total of 6,800 buses scheduled to be received from our foreign partners.
Beginning of the 6th annual high-level energy meeting between Algeria and the European Union to evaluate the cooperation in the energy sector and review the ways to develop it. A meeting co-chaired by the State Minister for Hydrocarbons and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, the Minister of Energy and Renewable Energy, Morad Ajal, and the European Commissioner for Energy and Housing, Dan Jorgensen. Before that, the two parties discussed during a meeting the ways of reinforcing the bilateral cooperation. They also reaffirmed the strategic aspect of the energy partnership between Algeria and the European Union. We listen.
جددنا التأكيد على أن الجزائر
It was emphasized that Algeria remains a major and reliable supplier of natural gas to the European market within the framework of a partnership based on trust, mutual respect and balanced interests. We also addressed the issue of reducing methane emissions and lowering the carbon footprint, particularly in exploration, production and transportation activities.
إلى مسألة تقليص انبعاثات غاز الميثان وخفض البصمة الكربونية.
فيما يخص تطوير الطاقات المتجددة.
Algeria is firmly committed to developing renewable energy while accelerating the modernization of its infrastructure and advancing energy interconnection projects between the two shores of the Mediterranean, such as the electricity interconnection project and the green hydrogen program. These initiatives are expected to strengthen the country's position as a strategic partner and a reliable supplier of clean and sustainable energy. Algeria has considerable potential. On our side, within the European Union, we are going through an energy transition marked by the gradual replacement of fossil fuels with renewable energy sources. This naturally requires strengthening of our cooperation in this field, which is of vital importance to our relations. I would also like to highlight green hydrogen, where our interests clearly converge. The development of electricity generation from our renewable sources offers new advantages. It is evident that we must decarbonize our energy systems, and in this regard, Algeria possesses major assets.
Tasked by the President of the Republic, the State Minister for Hydrocarbons and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, arrived in Burkina Faso for a work visit at the head of an important delegation that includes the Minister of Energy and Renewable Energy, the CEO of Sonatrach Group, the CEO of Naftal, and other executives. This visit is part of the efforts to reinforce the bilateral cooperation, particularly in the sectors of energy, mines and hydrocarbons. It is also an opportunity for exchange and expertise and sharing the Algerian experience in the South-South cooperation. In a month where every dinar counts, neighborhood markets offer families a much-needed relief from rising prices, providing affordable products and easier access to essentials. Basma Far.
Farik, like many other cities, local markets are drawing large crowds. Shoppers are turning to these outlets in search of affordable goods ahead of the blessed month of Ramadan, a time known for increased consumption when expenses place significant pressure on household budgets, especially for middle-income families.
These markets enable citizens to purchase essential goods under favorable conditions at regulated prices. The initiative will remain in place throughout the holy month of Ramadan. Imported meat is being sold at 910 dinars per kilogram and will remain available throughout the entire month. Customers can already purchase their supplies.
These stalls are well stocked with fresh fruit, vegetables, along with a wide range of other products. The stated objective is to streamline distribution channels, bring producers closer to consumers, and ensure more competitive prices.
Demand is high and we are working to ensure the availability of all products. We thank the authorities for this initiative, which facilitates access to essential goods, particularly for low-income families and retirees. Thank God, prices are affordable, supplies are available under good conditions. We hope this type of initiative will continue throughout the year. You can truly find everything at this market. The products are of good quality and offered at more affordable prices.
These neighborhood markets are proven to be more than just commercial spaces. For many families, they represent a practical solution and a welcome source of relief.
As part of the fight against organized crime, 2 units of the territorial group of the National Gendarmerie of Al Bayad in the 2nd Military Region arrested 4 individuals, including 2 women, and seized 5.32 quintals of processed keef, 1 truck, 2 vehicles, 2 phones, and money from criminal activities. This operation reflects the professionalism and the vigilance of the People's National Army units in fighting any kind of organized crime, particularly before the month of Ramadan. 3 years after the Al Haus earthquakes, survivors are still waiting for rehousing and compensation. With many families living in tents, anger is growing over what they call broken promises and official indifference. Many Sadila Balaman.
3 years after the devastating Al Haus earthquake, frustration among survivors is growing. They are back on the streets, protesting peacefully. Their target, what they call the Makhzans in action. They say they have yet to be rehoused, with numerous families still living in tents exposed to cold and harsh weather conditions.
If we want to rebuild, we need a permit. It's expensive. Construction costs are high too. And if we build without it, the authorities demolish everything. We've been living for months in the cold and rain, in extremely difficult conditions. It is my right. I won't give it up. Even if I have to die, I look at my daughters and I can't even feed them. The authorities should have helped us. Instead, they abandoned us. Our files were handled with irregularities and favoritism. My children and I are still on the streets.
Protesters accuse the authorities of failing to fulfill promises to rehouse and compensate them. They argue their most basic rights have not been protected.
We've been stripped of our rights. The earthquake destroyed everything. Many of us have no resource left to rebuild. It's our right and we will not give it up.
As hardship persists across Al Haus, the demonstrations continue, a visible expression of anger and resilience that the Makhzan appears unwilling to acknowledge.
And with this, we come to the end of our edition. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Have a good night.